Well, conference, what a wonderful welcome. You've been really so good to me this week. It's not every day that you lose a leadership election and your team goes bottom of the league. But, conference, I am proud of my campaign. I'm proud of my campaign team, led by Jerry Sutcliffe, Paul Goggins and Kevin Lee. I said in my own words what I felt needed to be said. But I'm proud of our new leader too, the spokesman for a new generation and our next Prime Minister. Conference, you know me by now. I will give him all of my support to make that happen. But I can't deny that we didn't have our disagreements on the campaign trail. Picture the scene. Early Sunday morning, on the train to Cardiff, Ed and his team were all over the Burnham reserve seats. It's fair to say that if we'd known then what we know now, we probably wouldn't have turfed him out. But he's right, conference. A new generation is ready to lead Labour forward. We are more united than any other in our party's history. And we are ready for the big challenges of our time, drawing inspiration from Labour's post-war generation. The way older people have to pay for care today is as great an injustice as healthcare before the NHS. A cruel dementia tax where vulnerable people empty their bank accounts and surrender their homes, not the British way, but as brutal as American healthcare. And it's about to get a whole lot worse. David Cameron's cuts to councils will put 500,000 older people at risk, left alone without help, piling yet more pressure on family carers, paying even more out of their own pockets. Ending this injustice, conference, of the dementia tax is in this century, the century of the ageing society, as great a cause for Labour as any that has gone before. A national care service, free at the point of use, just think about it, paid by a levy on estates, will give peace of mind to everyone in later life and let them protect everything that they have worked so hard for throughout their lives. It will be, conference, for Labour in this century what the NHS was for our party in the last, proudly proclaiming our values to the world, showing how those values can build a better and a fairer society. A big, inspiring idea in the best traditions of our party. That's the way to reconnect Labour. But doing it means rediscovering the courage of our convictions. Thank God, Nye Bevan wasn't the kind of man who worried about what the Daily Mail might say. If he was, we might never have had an NHS. So going forward, conference, let's worry a bit less about what the media might say and do what we know in our hearts to be right. Bevan called the NHS a real piece of socialism. Today, it is Britain's most cherished institution. But it is now, as speakers have said this morning, facing the biggest attack in its 62-year history. A white paper out of nowhere that will unpick the very fabric of our NHS and turn order into chaos. They are the wrong reforms at the wrong time, at any time, and a bad deal for patients. Before the election, Mr Cameron said his priority could be summed up in 3 letters, NHS. Barely a week went by without a photo call alongside NHS staff. No mention of the bombshell he was about to drop on them. My message today to the Prime Minister is simple. You can't pose as the friend of the NHS one day and rip it to pieces the next. People will never forgive you for it. You have no mandate for the breakup of a successful NHS. Patients aren't asking for it. GPs and NHS staff don't want it. The public did not vote to it. I say to you today, put these dangerous plans on hold. Give the NHS the stability it needs. If you don't, get ready for the fight of your life. And the public will be on our side, not yours. You made promises to patients and NHS staff. We will not let you betray them. Conference, on some things though, David Cameron has been true to his word. Do you remember how in the election he promised to look out for the great ignored? Remember? Well, to be fair, he has. Nick Clegg could not have had a warmer welcome into the Tory fold. And it's hard to ignore Nick now, isn't it? Nick, if you don't mind, a bit of advice. Your tie doth protest a bit too much. The yellower it gets, the more you look and sound like a Tory. And that conference is today's Liberal Democrats. Tories in yellow ties. But I'm told they're happy with this new image. In fact, they've already picked a campaign song for the next election to promote it. It's a remake of a classic love song based on the Tory tree logo. It's called Tie a Yellow Ribbon Round the Old Oak Tree. Now, we all know, Conference, that Nick likes the spotlight, but incredibly, he is planning to sing the key lines himself in a very personal appeal to his friend, David. So tie a yellow ribbon round the old oak tree. It's been 3 long years. Do you still want me? But Conference, this is a real tearjerker. Nick goes on to open his heart about the fear of rejection on the campaign trail. If I don't see a yellow ribbon round the old oak tree, I'll stay on the bus. That must mean his battle bus, I think. Forget about us. Put the blame on me. Make no mistake, Nick, if you and your MPs nod through the breakup of the NHS, we will put the blame on you. Not just us, but the 7 million people who voted for you too. They didn't vote for this. You didn't tell them that you would allow your friend Dave to carve up the NHS, a service which is today the envy of the world. In June, a respected international think tank gave this verdict on the NHS: the second best healthcare system in the world, top in the world on efficiency. Conference, feel proud of that today. The final word on Labour's NHS. No one can take it from us, however much they try to rewrite history. But it is all at risk. 13 years of careful work, staked on the roll of a dice. A 1,000-piece jigsaw thrown up into the air. It makes me want to weep, Conference. Before the ink was dry on a coalition agreement which promised no more top-down reorganisations of the NHS, we get the biggest and the most dangerous ever. An epic U-turn from a government fond of pious statements on restoring trust in politics. What changed, Mr Cameron? I think shell-shocked NHS staff deserve an answer, but patients deserve an answer too. It's our job, conference, to tell them what this plan means. Waiting times getting longer again with the scrapping of our maximum 18-week wait and our cancer guarantees. They deride them as process targets. But with cancer, process equals time, and time saves lives. We're going to see patients facing that familiar Tory choice in healthcare: wait longer or pay to go private, as the private patients cap is lifted. A postcode lottery writ large, with up to 500 GP groups making different decisions. Vulnerable patients, people with mental health conditions, rare conditions or complex needs, left without guarantees and the certainty that they need more than anybody. For staff, it means the end of national pay structures, which brings stability to the system. I was proud to make the NHS, the public NHS, my preferred provider. But now, staff have no guarantees that they'll be working in the NHS in 5 years' time. These reforms have nothing to do with what is best for the NHS and everything to do with ideology. It is nothing short of scandalous, conference, that up to £3 billion is being spent on a political experiment at a time when our NHS needs every single penny to maintain standards in patient care and to protect jobs. These plans are an attack on the N in NHS, a frightening vision of a fragmented health service where markets rule, competition trumps cooperation, private sector giants outbid the NHS and profits trump patients. No wonder morale is at rock bottom. Tens of thousands of decent, hard-working PCT staff have been told they are simply expendable. It is no way to treat loyal people who have helped put the NHS back on its feet in recent times. I tell those PCT staff today, I know what you did. I value your contribution, and the country should value your contribution too. We have GPs wondering when they signed up to become managers of markets and multi-million-pound budgets. Ian spoke for many today when he said, don't destroy what we've been building up for years. Lansley says, listen to GPs. Well, it's about time he did the same. If the Royal College of GPs and the BMA can't support your plans, something is seriously wrong. A chorus of protest from patients, nurses and now even GPs is rising across the country. It is aimed at a Tory party that voted 51 times against the NHS. It's never been safe in their hands, conference, and it's not safe now. So, conference, let the message go out from here today that we here are getting ready for the battle of our lives under Ed's leadership. People need to know that their beloved NHS will never be the same again if this madcap plan goes ahead. I call on all of you to sign up for this campaign today. Put your name on Labour's Defend Our NHS petition and recruit your friends to do the same. Let's build an army of NHS defenders in every community in the land. Let's take the fight for a universal public NHS to every street and doorstep in the land. Let's give heart to those demoralised NHS staff who do so much for us all the time. That Labour will stand up for them and defend what they believe in. And let's show this arrogant government the might of this Labour movement when it fights as one. To those who say we can't win, 16,000 people have already proved you wrong. We saved NHS Direct, and well done to John Prescott for organising that. Conference, we can and we must win. We will win, because the public will be willing us on. They didn't vote for this. Mr Cameron, you have picked the wrong fight. We are a resurgent Labour Party, and nothing matters more to us than the NHS. It is the best thing about Britain today. Labour's finest achievement. Conference, defend it with everything you've got and get ready for the fight of our lives. Thank you very much indeed, Conference.